Right. So Oracle VirtualBox is actually the virtualization software provided by Oracle, and it is freely available for you. So you can create a new virtual machine, right? Right. So you can select a version, right? So if Slackware is not available, right, you can go for Linux 2.6, and memory allocation. So you can allocate around 4 GB. If you have that amount, that would be good. So this is for RAM, right? So create a virtual hard disk. Yes, you need to create a virtual hard disk. So we will create a virtual hard disk. So VirtualBox disk image would be good because that is uh, required, or else you can choose any other, but we will go with the VirtualBox virtual hard disk. So dynamic memory allocation is important because otherwise the allocated memory will be fixed. So if the need is there, then the allocation will be done in this dynamic allocation. So keep as dynamic allocation. So we will keep around 20 GB, right? Because it might, or say 15 GB would be okay, right? So now I need to start this installation. So I will select Slackware 14 that I have used, right? So I have downloaded. Right. So we will start just by pressing enter. So keyboard map, you can keep as the default value. Right. Then Slackware login, the default login would be the super user, that is root. So I will log in as root. So default, there's no password because this is loading from the image, right? Disk image. Therefore, there's no password. You can easily log into the Slackware installation. So you might think then you don't have any security, but this is only for the installation, right? After that, you can generate a password and then the system will be protected, right? So now you are in the Slackware initialization stage, right? So the partitioning tool that we are going to use is called as fdisk. So when you type fdisk, right? So you know how to find the commands, right? So you can always use the help to find the different commands that can be used in this tool. So here you can use fdisk -l, that will list down the available disks for you. So this is what we have, right? So we have a single partition called div sda, right? So using that, we can do the partitioning, right? So for a base Linux systems, you need two essential partitions, two essential primary partitions, that is the swap partition and the installation partition, that is to install the operating system software. So the available disk is given here, right? You can see it is called as div/sda, right? So if we want to partition this given disk, that is also a virtual disk, right? So that is provided by the virtual machine, right? So we can use fdisk /div sda, right? So if you cannot remember a particular command, you can always use the tab, right? When you press the tab twice, you will get the list of suggestions, right, for the command, right? So you can always use that. So I will initiate the command, execute the command like this: fdisk div/sda. That means I am going to partition the disk called sda using the tool fdisk, right? So fdisk stand for format disk. So this is available in the command prompt as a tool in Slackware. In other operating systems also this is available. So another important thing you should remember is when it is given as sda or sdb like that, right? So the first letter S denotes that this is a SATA hard disk, right? If it is a IDE, it will be given as H. So it would be given as HDA or HDB like that, right? So you can identify the type of the hard disk as well from this. So then we will press enter, right? So now I am using the tool called fdisk to partition the hard disk, virtual hard disk called SDA, right? So the total size is also given here, that is 17 GB, right? So now I will press M, right, to list down what are the available commands in fdisk. So when I press M, when I enter M, so I will get the list of commands, right? So you can see this clearly. So then to create a new partition, right, or to print, right, so I can just press P and enter. So you can see at the moment there's nothing, right, created. There's no partitions. So again, if I press M, so I want to create two partitions, right? So if I press M and see the list, then I can see when N is used, I can add a new partition, right? So I will press N and enter, right? So then it will ask whether it is going to be a primary partition or an extended partition. So using FDisk, you can create up to 4 primary partitions, right? So for the basic installation, we need only 2 partitions. So we can create a primary partition, right? So I can create up to so I will create a primary partition that would be the first partition, right? So then I have to select the sectors, right? That means the starting point and the end point of the partition. So it would be difficult to remember, right? So that is why it is given as the starting point. So if I just press enter, it will take the default starting point, right? So I will just press enter because the default starting point is already given here. Then I have to indicate the last sector. That means the size of the first primary partition. So the first primary partition would be the swap partition, right? So that would be the swap partition. So swap partition, I can go up to 4 GB, right? So normally it should be twice as the available memory, but I will go for 4 GB. So there are 2 ways of entering. I can enter the sector number. So it would be difficult to calculate the sector number, right? Or I can indicate the size in this format. Plus, you give the value and indicate whether it is kilobytes, megabytes, or gigabytes. So I will use plus 4G. That means it will add 4 GBs to the first partition, right? So now the first partition is created. So if I want to see this, I can print the partitions and see whether it is available. So now you can see when I press P, one partition is created, a Linux partition, right, of 4 GB, right? Then I want to create another one, right? That is for the Linux installation. So I will press N again. So yeah, so I want to create a primary partition. So that is P. Then partition number. So we can create 4 partitions. So default, it will take the next available partition because we have already created one, right? So we will press 2, right? Or else it will take as the second partition. So you can even leave it like this, right? Then the first sector will, when I press enter, it will take as it is. And also the remaining full storage will be used for the installation. So default would be the last value. So I can press enter, right? So now 2 partitions are created. So I will press P and check the partition. So now you can see we have created 2 partitions. So we need Linux partitions, but the first partition should be a Linux swap partition. So let's see how to change the partition system or the file system. So you can see when we press T, right, we can change the file system. but we should know what are the available file system types, right? So it is available when we press L, right? So I will press L and enter. So this is the list, right? This is the list. So out of this, actually, now it is actually hidden, right? So 82 is the value for the Linux swap partition, right? So 83 is for Linux, 82 is for the Linux swap partition. When you install, you will see this list clearly. Because I have rearranged the size, you won't be able to see this. So I will then press T, right, to change the file system. So that is in the first partition. Partition number is 1, right? Then the code would be 82, right? So now it is changed to Linux swap partition, as you can see here, right? So then to make sure, I will print and see, right? So now we have our partitions created, but still this is not written into the partition table, right? So this is just created, and if we want to create this physically and add it to the partition table, then only this is accessible by an operating system to install, right? So let's see again, press M and C. So how to write this to the partition table? So you can see here, W is the command. When we press W, right? So it will write these partitions into the partition table. And when we start the installation, we can easily choose this available partitions that we have created. So I will press W and enter. So now you can see the partition table has been altered and partitions are created. So now if I want to check again, so I will type fdisk -L and see the partitions. Now there are 2 partitions. Earlier there were nothing, right? So now the 2 partitions are created. Now the storage is ready to install Linux Slackware distribution, right? So now then, so how to start this installation? So the command is setup, right? So when you type setup and press enter, right? So then we can select the installation, right? So so if you want to refer, you can refer to help, then keyboard map. So if it is required, right? So if you are using a different keyboard, right? Not a standard one, then you can select the keyboard. Other than that, you can keep it as it is. So we can start from the third step, add swap partition. Right, so I will add a swap partition. So I will press OK. So the system will automatically take what we have already created, right? So you can see, so what we have already created will be taken as Linux swap partition, right? So that is why we have already created. So we can just press OK. Check the swap partition for bad blocks. You can check if you want, but to save time, I will say no. So when you install, check whether it is created. Then you will get a message saying swap space is configured. So I will press OK. Then we have to identify where to install the Linux. directories and the operating system software. So we have already created a partition for that as well. So it is available, right? So you can select that. So I will select, and then, so if required, there are different types of formatting, right? So you can check whether there are any errors, bad blocks and install, or a quick format and install. So I will go for quick format and install, right? So another important aspect. So which file system can be used for Linux installation? So Linux installation, we can use ext2, ext3, ext4, and like that. There are different file systems. So these are file systems that you will learn later on in this course module. What are these file systems? So for now, remember, anything after ext3 can be used. That means you can use ext4, JFS, RaceFS, or any other available file system can be used. So why we cannot use ext2 and 3? So normally when we create a swap partition, it would be ext2, right? So different file systems has limitations, right? For example, ext2, we can support up to 4 GB, ext3 up to 8 GB. So like that, but ext4, it can support up to 1 TB, right? So like that, we have to select according to the requirement, right? So we will keep it as it is, right? So ext4, and there are certain other benefits as well that I will explain in the lecture, right? So so if you are really interested, you can search on this file system. It is very interesting, right? For Linux installation, what are these different file systems and why they are important, right? So I have used that, right? So then now the partition is identified and formatting done. So I will press OK. So installation from Slackware CD, yes. So I have selected the image, right? So I will click OK. So automatically scan the CD. So the system will scan the CD and check whether it is available, right? So the things are available. So we will go with the base Linux system. So I won't change any of these options that is available now. But when you install, you can experiment, right? You can experiment, you can add, drop the available packages in each of these different categories and see how it works. So I will go with the basic default packages available, and also I will go for the full installation. Right, so like this, it will go through the installation, and after installing, you have to do the configuration again. Right, so after around 20 minutes, you will get this screen. So this is after installation. So if you want to create a USB Linux boot disk, you can create, right? There's an option. So that means you can create a USB or flash drive as a Linux boot device. So you can plug it to a machine and boot it from the USB, right? So if you, so at the moment I don't want to create a USB boot disk. If you want, you, when you install, you can create this as well. So this will be very handy when you when a particular system get crashed. So you can always boot from the Linux USB and copy your essential files. If the system is crashed, you can access, and so you can try to fix it as well, right? So so for the moment I will skip this. Then installing the Lilo. So Lilo means Linux load order. So in chapter 1, we discussed about the Bootstrap program, right? So what does the Bootstrap program do? So it will initiate and check all the devices, whether they are connected and working properly, right? So Linux is also having this Bootstrap program, right? Or bootloader. This is called as Lilo, Linux load loader. There's another version called Grub. So in different Linux distributions like Fedora, CentOS, they use a bootloader called Grub, right? So so we have to install this, right? Linux load order, right? So yeah, so the Linux console is also required, so I will install that as well, right? So anything append, no need, right? So text console, no need to configure because it is already UTF-8, right? So master boot record. So we have to install the way the operating system should start, right? So we have to install this, right? So we will install it in the master boot record. Then mouse configuration, actually mouse is the standard configuration PS2, and if it is a laptop also you can use the same configuration, right? So so the virtual console, yes, so you can use the same, right? Network, so if you want to create the network now, you can do that, or else you can skip later on. After installing, you can configure the network, right? So again, some packages, if you want, you can include, but you can keep the default packages. This is for printers, right? That type of services. So I will keep the default packages. Fonts, so we can keep the default ones as well, right? So no need to custom. So the clock also we can reset, right, later on. So I will keep the clock as it is. So here we can select the country, right? So right, then the desktop environment, I can keep it as it is, right? So that is KDE desktop environment. So no root password, yes. So we will, for the moment, we will keep it blank. Later on, we will assign a root password. So now the setup is complete, right? So we can choose cancel the setup. We can exit from the setup, right? So now if you want to load the graphical user interface, now we have installed, right? So we can list down the directories. Now the Linux system is installed. So if you want to go to the graphical user interface using KDE, K desktop environment, so you can type start X. Right, sorry. So you have to reboot. So when you reboot, right, you have to make sure that you remove right. So I will reboot again because I have not uh, unmounted the previous installation. So now you can see, so we have the Linux installation. Right. So now I can log in to the distribution I have already installed. Right. So now I am logged in. Right. So let's say, so now I am at root. Right. Right. So if I want to go to user local, right. So now the system is installed. So if I want to go to the graphical user interface, that is also possible in Slackware. So so the command that you need to execute would be startx. Right. So this is the interface, right? So the graphical user interface. So this is not very much attractive like Windows, or sometimes not even like Ubuntu, but very effective, right? Very economical uh, Linux distribution. So this is what you have initially, right? So you have the command prompt here as well, right? The console is there. Right. So here again, you can run where you are, right? So so you can see the available available files, directories, right? So you can use the basic commands from here, right? So that is the basic introduction.